And then there were 12. Yes, here we are, late into the evening at Shelbourne Park once again, discussing the quarterfinals of the BOYLE Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. Kevin, there was a debate during the week about what should be clear favourite. Certainly other firms had proper ARS favourite, and there was dispute in other places. I think Cheap Sam just stood up tonight and went, calm your jets now, lads. I'm only getting right. I'm really starting to arrive. And that was a hell of a run tonight, 29-27. As it was, the only unbeaten Greyhound, though, left in the Derby is proper ARS. He's still there. The UK still have a very strong challenger. We know in hindsight that they'll meet again in the semi-finals. We might even discuss that a little bit later on. But for the moment, let's start with Cheap Sandwiches. Very impressive.
Look, it was simply poetry in motion. And again, I don't think he got away fluently. He's not trapping. He's still not blowing the lids down. Now, maybe he doesn't need to do that, or that mightn't come. He's never been sort of a out and gone sort of merchant. He's just so good everywhere. He's great earlier. I probably sounded like a broken record last week saying how much I thought from the winning line to the first bend that he just exploded into the corner. That's what we saw again tonight. And there's only 2 wides left. There's only 1 middle. He's near enough guaranteed 6. And trap 6 around Shelbourne Park, he loves it. He really loves it. And he just runs the track so well. And look, you'd want a heart of stone. Not to well wish Cheap Sandwiches, because unfortunately for him, he ran into a freak in Bocco's Diamond for the last 12 to 18 months, and now look, unfortunately with Bocco's Diamond out, Cheap Sandwiches is taking his opportunity with 4 paws, because tonight not only did he put down a marker, but where do you pick a flaw on him? From start to finish, he was just simply breathtaking. And look, something is going to have to come out of the woodwork to beat him, because we said it here last week, his runs in the Derby so far were 29.53, 49, 34. Now he's come down to 27. Yeah. He's improving every single week, and I still think there's a length at the boxes. So if there's a dog in this Derby to do a low 29 seconds, I think it will be him. And I don't think there'll be anyone disputing favouritism this week. It'll be clearly Cheap Sandwiches.
Yeah, we got to remember this is unanimous Leo going up well from trap 4. I thought Cheap Sandwiches did come away well, but I thought unanimous Leo. I thought he got that first stride that bit better than him. He got going earlier. It was actually Callaway 5 that broke fastest, but he just couldn't live with the two of them into the opening corner. Simple as that. Unanimous 5 charged into the bend, but then Cheap Sandwiches arrived on his shoulder and he went around him. We said it last week about Ballymac stood in the opening corner around Lenny's. It was like Scalextrics. He just shot around, and by halfway, it was race over. Game over, ball burst. He went on to win by 7 lengths, which was the most impressive thing for me. Yeah. He really did put them to the sword. Callaway 5 and unanimous Leo had a great old tussle for, well, we thought at the time 2nd and 3rd, but they were nabbed by Droopy's Deploy, who you could see was just in a lovely position to get going down the back straight. He was just that little bit. He had that little bit of room for himself, and he did charge home, as he has done, in fairness to him, each and every night of the Derby. He came through for 2nd, and it was desperately tight for 3rd between Callaway 5 and unanimous Leo. In the end, a short head to Callaway 5 to qualify. Your heart goes out to Kieran O'Sullivan and Pat Buckley. They've had a good year, don't get me wrong, but God, it would have been nice to have a semi-finals with unanimous Leo, who it's the first time he's ever not reached the final of a competition.
Look, I think it was the podcast we done during the week. I said, whatever he does this year is or in this Derby is a bonus. He's a better dog now than I thought he was. He's a stronger dog now, and look, he was unlucky to go out by the most narrow margins there tonight. But like you said, the reason it was a 3:44 split. It was definitely unanimous Leo who broke the thing. So I'm saying, Cheap Sandwich is probably doing a 3:47, 48. We know he's a 3:43 regular. So that was where I was getting a little bit more at the boxes for him. I thought Callaway 5 ran really gutsy to stay in it, but I was really impressed with Droopy's Deploy. He gets wiped. There's trouble on the inside. Might too probably cause it. Romeo charged up the inside of Dream. There's a knock-on effect, and Droopy's Deploy gets his back legs completely taken. Now I know we're probably thinking, he'll pick up unanimous Leo, but to get by the two of them, and with a half a length of daylight back to the two of them, he done some running tonight. We know he has an engine in him. I know Robert was down in the dumps earlier in the Derby with the dogs, and he wouldn't have been waving the white flag, but when he didn't sound over enthusiastic when he just had this at left. But I tell you one thing, he's improving every week.
Hindsight, he's in the easier of the 2 semi-finals. He could easily make the final.
Oh, I'm telling you, he's when you look at the stronger running dogs that are left, you're probably at Ballyhooly Bruno and himself as possibly the two strongest runners in it. But I thought he ran an absolute cracker. So congratulations to Robert and Paul Allen.
And sadly, your own two ran into each other in the open corner. That was that game over. But yeah, Cheap Sandwiches beating Druppies Deploy. And as we said, Callaway 5 qualifying for Owen McKenna and Dennis Murphy. They have been to latter stages in the derby before. On now to the second heat, and just this is the time to set your watch, wasn't it? Magical Mag flashes out, does everything right. Finish 1, 2, 3. Happy Jet. They've just found a way to get this fellow out of boxes last while. I think, as I said to you, I think about it, was it this dog I said about? He's now in the same boxes a few weeks in a row. It just might be the difference because he had been up and trip, down and trip, up and trip, different traps, different tracks. So I think we're finding a level of consistency with him at boxes. The race for third was the real race here, as it was. Magical Mag, absolutely metronomic, just popped out, made every inch of the running for Pat Guilfoyle, and it seems for half the punting public.
Yeah, look, she's in trap 1, she's been dynamite, and the roar again, like I mentioned it last week because I had heard it from up where you were, and I was just listening out for nearly tonight, and it came up again. The minute she popped out, the roar went up again. Like Magical Mag out with trap 1. In hindsight, we know she's not won in the semi-finals, but she's just brilliant from that box. And when the bitches come into form, like, they tend to stay there, and they almost run above themselves. And she's won. Like, I'm not saying she's run above herself, that she wasn't capable of this before, but she's at the peak of her powers. And from trap 1 for the last couple of weeks, and from those inside draws, she's absolutely blitzing it out. And you were right. I think you were right in what you said. Like, it looked quicker than the 340. Now I do think that was possibly exaggerated by one or two of the others just not getting away.
It's also exaggerated by herself. Drifting out
slightly,
not even slightly. She's out to 3 fairly sharpish.
Well, we'll see her from the middle boxes next week. But I have a funny feeling that me and you are both going to be probably impressed with another dog in this heat that you probably haven't mentioned yet.
Happy Jet ran well in second.
He did, and you're right. Like I said it on this as well, that Happy Jet was a dog like Romeo starting that stake and Escarty. And whether it is the consistency of the traps, the track, the distance, everything, something has clicked with him. He's finally showing the promise he showed when he was in Escarty, and he's just running really confidently and running really well. And the key to him has been that pace into the first bend. He's not putting himself behind the 8 ball anymore. He's landing at the first bend in contention, and we know he's very strong. So I'll let you lead with the
Ballymac Stud missed a kick. Well, didn't he? Yeah, missed a kick. I'm going to say moderately away. But himself and Shanahy Boomer were rubbing shoulders straight away. Instantly. And it cost both of them. As it was, Ballymac Stud is in a position to drive up the inside of Blastoff Hefo in the opening corner, but between youth and inexperience and just probably in the wrong spot, he checked off wide. He finds himself 5th of 5 into the back straight. And what happened from the second bend to the third bend was absolutely eye-popping. Yep. It was an awesome run to the third bend. Now, he still had work to do because he knew Blastoff Hefo was going to come at him up the run in. And he did, but he held him off by a neck, and he's qualified. And I am not putting a pen through Ballymac Stud just yet. This dog is, I think he could be the real deal. If he finds those trapping boots once again, he could be serious, and he's a big player in the derby.
Yeah, no, well, look, there's no thinking he's the real deal. He is. We've seen it. Like, it's not like we've no evidence to suggest he can trap. It's not like if you just took what we've seen in the derby, you could get away for thinking, look, he's just not a great trapper. Like, he's, that'll cost him. He'll never maybe win a big one because he'll never come away fluently. This dog in the unraced stake in Shelburne, I was hearing myself every night, was pa-ching, pa-ching, pa-ching out of box. So it's there. He's only having his 10th race tonight. It hasn't gone away. He just hasn't timed it right or got it right yet. And look, he'll probably need to get it right 2 more times because semi-final of a derby now, he can't afford to miss it. But I agree with you. I also think, just go back actually even to the start of the race, himself and Shanahy Boomer collide instantly, but they actually collide a second time, only about 5 yards out, and that really ruins them. Like when they bumped first, I instantly went, oh, they're both in trouble.
I suggested earlier in the week with our chat that Shanahy Boomer would probably stay straight until he had room.
No.
Guess what? I wasn't right there.
Yeah, no, they did. And they bumped, and they both damaged their chances where you're at the point of like, oh no, they're in trouble. And then when they do it the second time, I instantly went, Blastoff Hefo was then third, and Happy Jet was second. Mag is out in front. They were gone.
Yeah.
They were out. The two of them were out in my head. And what you said and what Ballymac Stud did down the back straight. Now look, Blastoff Hefo was always going to come back at him. I'm not saying Blastoff Hefo is the quickest dog down the back, but he's no slouch. And like Ballymac Stud, the qualifying for him was he had to clear him, not join him. He had to clear Heffo by the third bend, and he did. And it was remarkable to see. That gears, that ability is phenomenal. There's another dog in the Derby we'll touch on later on that has similar back straight pace, and they're two absolute weapons. And the Derby's a better Derby for Ballymac being in there. Now, it's at the semi-finals. We've said it once or twice about missing it. He cannot afford to do that now next week. And he's in the better of the two semi-finals as well. So, but look, the ability is there. He's a star in the making, and I'm really looking forward to watching his career progress.
Yeah, behind him, Shanahy Boomer, just, again, he was out of luck and blast off Heffo.
I feel for Philip. I feel for Philip because Heffo has done everything within his power. He's drawn trap 5 in the quarter-final, and he has done everything he could do to put himself in a position to qualify. And he's beat, like you said, it was a neck. That's the shortest neck I've ever seen, because when they crossed the line, I didn't know which one of them was third. So
I think I had to call a photo.
You would have had to.
I called it for third spot in each of the heats.
Yeah,
am I right in saying the fourth heat as well? It was desperate in all of them.
The second, the third, and the fourth heats definitely all went to a photo for third. Yeah,
well, the first went to the closest.
Well, there you go.
Leo
so then they were all.
Moving on to the third heat and proper ARS. You know, it wasn't flashy like last week, but he's finding a way, Kevin.
Yeah,
you know, the good ones find a way. He's like, as far as I'm concerned, 5 yards into the corner, he's still a length and a half behind Check for Cash, and yet he seems to hit him halfway up his body. So he charged into the corner while Check for Cash is edging across. He probably didn't charge it or drive it as much as he could have or has done. It made all the difference, because proper ARS just said, no, I'm a 78-pound dog, and I'm just going to burst you out of the way. And that's exactly what he did. He went to the front, and yes, there were a couple of eye catchers in behind. Glengar Silent charged down into the third bend. I think that's the dog you're going to talk about. But proper ARS, he's finding a way. He does 29.78, but again, it's ignore the time. We know he can do 29.27. He did that last week. He didn't get the start he needed in a race where one or two of the dogs that, if they had started, could have made life very difficult for him. Like, let's say Single and Curly had started like he did last week. All of a sudden, proper ARS is struggling, but again, the good ones find a way, and he did find a way, and he's still there. And as I said, he's unbeaten in the Derby.
Yeah, it's going to sound strange. I don't think he wants to be in one for trapping.
No, but he wants to be there on the corner. But he doesn't want to be there at traps.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was going to say. You touched on it in the previous heat with Ballymac Stud, not driving the bend with Heffo and jumping out. And I can even use it for my own lady, Barefoot and Song. She'll never stick her head down and drive a corner and drive something over her way. He will. And he doesn't need to be level, as he showed tonight. Like, he's 3 parts of a length back on Check for Cash, just the corner. And just to mention Check for Cash, I feel so sorry for Carl. He's done everything he could. He's done everything he could. He's led up a race with loads of early in it, and he's just got chinned like at the worst possible place.
And then to get done again at the third bend. I know. We're still in the qualifying position.
It was very unfortunate for Carl, but on proper race, like, he's at his hip. He's at Check for Cash's hip, and he just lowers it, connects with Check for Cash, costs him momentum, and he just swings into the back. So, like I was saying,
like a cornerback. Yeah, he's like a big cornerback, more like a wing back.
Yeah, I just don't know where. Now we know he's in 5 the next night. I think he could actually break better from there.
Yeah.
But I do think at the bend he wants to be on that inside line, because he's so brave from in there. You know, he won't be able to push anything out of his way from there. But look, that's for next week. But on him, and again, look, it's a better Derby with him in there. Not just because he's a British Raider, because of his CV, because of how talented he is. We seen this lad go toe-to-toe with Cheap Sandwiches only a fortnight ago. We know how that ended.
A week ago.
That's in the locker. Make no mistake about it. And the nights that he misses it, this dog proves that he's gutsy, he's game, and he's unbeaten. So what more can you say? Glengar Silent, phenomenal what he done. Genuinely phenomenal. Like, this lad has boot. It's unmatched nearly in the Derby. Like, from 2 to 3, like, he's jumping over the back of dogs to get into. He can't actually get into a position quick enough that his legs are going that hard. And the minute he straightens up, like, he's still probably 2 behind proper ARS. He's all over the back of him at the third bend. Like he literally he's travelling that quick. He's actually travelling quicker than proper ARS, that he has to check up himself. And he collides then with the kennelmate Single on Curly. And in a weird turn of events, Single on Curly checking over the back of Glengar Silent off the last bend, I think, made him qualify.
Yeah.
Because what it's done is, it's carried his momentum wide, which has run him into Magical Sapphire and almost held her for half a stride, which cost her qualification. So it was a bizarre turn of it. I feel sorry for Magical Sapphire.
That's a heat where all three of them can win a derby.
Yeah, well, we
All
see
three of the qualifiers can win a derby.
without question. Like Sing Along Curly, we seen it last week. What he's capable of doing. Like, he's done nothing wrong. He's gutsy out to stick in there to qualify. Glengar's Island has all the ability, and yeah, you're right. All three of them have a great chance. I just did want to mention Magical Sapphire because she's so photo finish to be beaten, and I think it was Sing Along Curly jumping across the back at Glengar's Island, which has cost him to run into her. That possibly cost her qualification. So, very good race.
It wasn't a bad one race take here a while back.
No,
Ballymac stood Glengar Silent.
Magical Major.
Magical Major won earlier on the card. Yeah, they're a talented bunch, shall we say. But Proper ARS came out on top, and that's something he's making a habit of. Moving on to the last of the four heats, and this went the way of Ballyhooly Bruno. It was a strange contest in a sense where the opening bend basically ruled out the outside trio, including the beloved Deladi Da, Rural Pest, and Kusain Pickles. Ballyhooly Bruno was sort of sitting third at that stage. Oreo Ollie just led up into the corner. Barefoot and Song got a little bit tangled. Ballyhooly Bruno found himself second. And then once doing so, he always suspected he was going to pick up Oreo Ollie, but it was very much between the top three at that stage. There was nothing else going to count. In the end, Ballyhooly Bruno, you've seen it week on week, just getting there. Looked a bit stronger tonight, 29.69. You know, after a bit of bother, good run.
I think he done a lot more than finding himself there. This was both... how can I say it? I was both delighted and saddened in equal measures of all the four heats because this is an iron dog, this Ballyhooly Bruno. Like, he's just tough as old boots. There's nothing flashy about him. He'll never be at the top of the betting in a heat or in the outright betting, and he just turns up every night. He's a different running style, but we saw Tars the Messiah and them dogs running last year. Completely different style, but it reminds me of him because he's always here, always floats under the radar and just never really runs a bad race. We know it's been highly documented that Tom had a rush job to get him into it. He was always going to come forward. And not only was the finishing kickback tonight, but he, in a race with Barefoot on Song, Oreo Ollie, we know the laddie that can go to the bend, and Rural Pest, there was plenty of area in it, and he found himself on their coattails at the first bend. It wasn't...
I just want to mention, I think they charged traps.
Now,
it wasn't a second before the start.
Okay.
It was probably 3 or 4 seconds before.
Okay.
But I saw a lot of shoulders.
Well,
and it looked like that when they came out. Like a race where one or two of them had all gone.
Well, I know whose shoulders you would have seen, and that would have been my lady, and she'll do that every time. She could go do that 3 times before the box is open. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's her style. So I maybe there was more of Matt. I don't know now, but I know it wouldn't surprise me now. She's mad as a box of frogs. That's being honest about Barefoot Song. So I'd say she was probably up and down about 5 times in it, but it works for her because she tends to come away running. But I really was over the moon for Tom O'Neill and Ballyhooly Bruno because I just think he deserved this. And like you said, if there's a dog in the derby coming forward, he is one of them. Oreo Ollie, much better tonight. I thought he paced up well. Like on Song hits it, I think she just missed a stride for a half a second, but he outpaced her into the bend, cuts her off at the corner, and he's away. He just unfortunately for connections had Oreo Ballyhooly Bruno in the wing.
He's turning into a real racy greyhound.
He
just loves to, he gets out, does it right.
And like you said, like this lad is going to win a heap of races. Maybe he'll win a derby, but even if he doesn't, he's just going to win a load of races. Barefoot and Song, she's still in there for all the mothers out there. She's in the semi-final of the derby. I think all bar one competition she's made the final of for us. So she has one more week to try, and now she's again in the better of the 2 semi-finals. But as I said to you, the time in the 3rd round, I think she was in the heat of death, so-called one at that time. No better lady to go in and represent herself. We have to obviously mention the laddie da. He just found himself in no man's land at the first bend, and not that I feel guilty, but like we literally said he'd have to get wiped out with the bend for him not to qualify, and that's what it took. And like I don't know what the future lies or where he goes next or where he appears. I don't even think it matters. He's been an outstanding greyhound, a dog of a lifetime, and regardless of whatever he achieves, he's given greyhound enthusiasts in Ireland and in the UK an unbelievable enjoyment for the last 2 years, and hopefully we'll see him back again. But still, to go out in the quarterfinal of probably about his 5th derby at this stage is still a good marker.
That's it.
Yep.
4 quarterfinals. We're down to the last 12. The draw has dictated that it's pretty hot in the opening heat. You know, Cheap Sandwiches will meet Proper ARS and throw in the likes of Ballymac Stud and Sing Along Curly and Oreo Wally, and I'm missing one.
We'll go under the radar.
We'll discuss that on Monday, but it's still there to be played for. You know, I know Cheap Sandwiches put his best foot forward here this evening, and all evidence would tell you he's just going to keep going. 29-27 tonight was by some margin the fastest run, both in the plate and the derby. It was a statement performance. He wins by 7 lengths, and you know those in behind didn't really get traffic. You know, so he sort of did put that foot forward again, and he is now clear favourite with BOYLE Sports. I assume he'll be clear favourite with all firms, but with the sponsors BOYLE Sports, who have been fingered on the pulse, pretty sharpish now for the last year or two. I think that's fair.
Yeah, no, and look, I suppose it probably is, in one way, a brilliant result, even for punters, because I suppose it depends how fickle you are or what way side of the fence you were on last week. Like, if you were leaning towards the form we saw last week and Proper ARS has Cheap Sandwiches numbers, well, you're rubbing your hands, because now you're probably going to get double the price you would have got had he have popped out and done 29, 30 or 40. Do you know what I mean? So, in this game, we always, I suppose, go on the last piece of form. So if you are that way inclined and you're a favourite backer, you're delighted. Cheap Sandwiches is, in your mind, 30 spots, the best dog in this derby. But if you're looking for a bit of value and you want to take him on, you're also going to get big prices now about dogs who, we seen only a week ago were able to top them. So
given how top heavy it is, first heat to the second heat, there has to be a bit of value in the second heat.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it has to be.
Yeah, no, there is, and like.
A Droopy's deploy, like 33-40.
There's another one there. We didn't have as many owners and connections up here this week as we had last week. We did have one rowdy bunch from Kerry course crew, Tom Nolan, one of the nicest people in course in our track, and his dog Glengar Silent. Like, I've nothing to do with the price, and so it's nothing to do with me. But I wouldn't be going too big on him. He's got trap 5 in the second semi-final. And who knows? Like he has
an engine, doesn't he?
He has, and he could be maybe a little bit touch big. And Magical Mag, there's not massive early in the second heat. She could pop out and do it for the ladies too. So look, I think it's still wide open. I know people will say Cheap Sandwiches, and I'm not knocking him, and he's still the most likely winner. But if I was to pick one, or
if he flashes out, wins 5 lengths next week, he's going to be starting the favourite at 4 to 6 in the final.
Well, I'll put it this way: I can put my hand on the table now and say I can guarantee you one thing: we won't have a shorter price favourite in this year's final as we had last year. That's one thing for sure.
Bucco's Diamond, the shortest price derby favourite of all time last year at 130 on. That's it. 12 dogs will take their chance in the semi-finals of the BOYLE Sports Irish Greyhound Derby here at Shelbourne Park next Saturday night. You can probably hear the voice isn't great tonight. There's been a lot of roaring for reasons. There was exceptional racing here tonight. More of the same next week. Join us if you can here at Shelbourne Park for the semi-finals of the BOYLE Sports Irish Greyhound Derby.